Welcome back, and you're watching Market Fatafat on ET. Now let's keep it going with all the stocks that are buzzing in trade either on the back of news flows and on technicals. And now on the technicals, we're joined by Aamar Singh, Senior Vice President Research at Angel One. Thank you so much, Aamar, for joining in with us, and good afternoon. Let's start with the first stock that you picked up for us, and that's Wockhardt. You know, the numbers surely have been a turnaround in this quarter, but on the charts, is that a turnaround as well?
Yeah, I would say that looking at the stock over the last few trading sessions, the stock has rallied by, I would say, roughly around 40-45%. And that also post the quarterly results which have come out. And what we are seeing is that the stock has broken out of a key zone of resistance, because earlier, if you look at the stock somewhere around 260, 270, that was a zone of resistance which the stock was unable to breach. And there the stock has comfortably breached and currently is trading around 330 odd levels. If I look at the long-term charts, there also I see that it has broken out of a major resistance zone. Now again, on the upside, if you look at the stock has a potential to rally towards the 380, 400 mark in the short term, because the momentum is there. Also, what we are seeing is that the volumes have been extremely high over the last 4 or 5 trading sessions. So that tells me that there is some definite buying interest which has come into the stock over the past few days, and the momentum is there to stay. On the downside, now the stock has made a strong support zone currently around 270 to 80 levels.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Dabur. That one is in focus today after Dabur and Dormoviva, both of them have been dismissed as defendants in the federal case. This was for one of the products in the US that was actually because of some cancer-related drugs and issues coming in from one of the products, which no longer they're a part of that defendant list, so that suit is no longer on them, and that is the main reason that we're seeing Dabur is in focus today. Other than that, obviously, Kotak Securities has come out with a note where they've added Dabur and removed Titan from their portfolio as well. Furthermore, Dabur's what they're highlighting is that Dabur stock trades as a reasonable valuation as of now, and our prolonged period of time of correction. Now they believe Dabur could do well. Dabur valuation is at somewhere around the February 2021 level, so quite attractive is what they're finding. That's why they believe that there's an upside that could come in for Dabur, and that's why it added Dabur to their portfolio.
Alright, moving on, let's talk about a stock that is perched at over 5-year high, and that is ONGC for you. If you look at the stock price of that particular counter, it hit a level of around 203.4 rupees per share. That is a 5-year high coming in for ONGC. ONGC is buzzing on a couple of reasons. One of the primary reasons is there's a report in PTI where the company's officials have said that they are planning to invest about 1 lakh crore rupees to set up 2 petrochemical plants to convert crude oil directly into high value chemical products as it prepares for energy transition. Remember, even in the investor call or post the numbers, the company's official said that the firm is looking to build separate oil to chemical projects as well. Not just that, today you had the government that went ahead and actually cut the windfall tax on crude oil as well as diesel. So all of these factors bode well for ONGC. The stock today hit a 5-year high.
Let's move on to the next one. And Aamar, GIC-RE, what are the charts indicating for this one? We've not spoken about this much on the technical front. Would you say it's a buy right now at the current levels?
I would say that if you look at the chart, it was consolidating and for a very long period of time, because since I would say somewhere mid of September till the mid of November, I would say that the stock has been consolidating. It was unable to breach the 230 level, because that was 230, 235 level that was acting as a zone of resistance. However, on the long-term charts, the stock has always been very strong, I would say, because the long-term charts continue to remain positive and strong. However, what we see today is a breakout above the key zone of resistance, 235 to 40 zone, and also on significant volume. So if you look at the volumes that are happening today, that's significantly higher as compared to many months in the past. So this is one stock one can definitely look at. On the upside, once the stock has reached the 240 level, the stock has a potential to rally towards 260 to 65 zone, where it would meet with resistance, because that is one of the long-term areas of resistance where the stock would meet into. Otherwise, the trend for the stock remains very strong from a long-term, medium-term perspective, and we are seeing a breakout on heavy volumes. Only the stock now needs to sustain above the 240 mark.
Lisa, let's talk about Som Distilleries and why is this one in the spotlight today?
Right, Som Distilleries is in focus because somewhere around midday they made an announcement that they have gained high market share in the state of Madhya Pradesh, around 45%, and this is in the overall beer industry. So yes, that is why Som Distillery is buzzing in trade, and that is why at around that time we saw a sharp surge coming in Som Distillery's share price. So that so the company has said that it has emerged as the preferred choice among the consumers. And additionally, the promoter Jagdish Arora, he also bought around 11,000 shares at an average price of around 297 per share. And this comes a week after the reports of income tax rates on the company, where the share price it nosedived below 300 rupees per share. Well, analysts are quite bullish on the stock, like HDFC Securities. They had a recent note on the company with a buy call at a target price of 387 per share, and they say that the domestic market offers huge opportunities for the company going forward, where they can penetrate different geographies as well as diversify the market. And also the company is increasing their market share by focusing on untapped geographies, untapped markets, and also through product innovations as well as undertaking capex. So that's Som Distilleries, and that is why it's buzzing. It's up around 3% as we speak.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock, and PB Fintech, Ankita, that one is in focus as well. Why is that so?
That's correct. PB Fintech is in focus on the back of a brokerage note that came out this morning by Morgan Stanley. Now, they're maintaining an overweight on this counter with a target price of 910 rupees per share. Now, they feel that they're seeing one of the strongest premium growth in retail health in many, many years, and they feel that the quarter two, does not reflect this appropriately as in the first year. The business delivers near zero earnings, and incrementally the focus of all the ad spends on health business is on the claims, and on the back of that they're maintaining an overweight on the counter, and the stock is buzzing in trade, almost 4%, and currently up more than 3.5% at the day's highest point.
All right, moving on, let's put the spotlight on the rice exporters. You can see most of the stocks like Kohinoor Foods, KRBL, LG Foods, all of them are buzzing in trade. Add to that list Chaman Lal Sethia as well. All of them are seeing good gains in trade today. Agencies have reported that India has signed contracts to export above 5 lakh metric tons of new season basmati rice. This after robust demand coming in from top buyers in the Middle East as well as in Europe. On back of that, you have all of these stocks actually buzzing in trade today. Healthy gains coming in for LT Foods, Kohinoor Foods as well as KRBL.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on that. But Aamar, coming to you, ITD Cementation, that's the stock that you've picked out for us as well. What are the charts indicating now for ITD Cementation?
Yeah, I would say that what we saw in the stock is that the stock had made a rally towards 240 levels in September, and post that the stock had corrected towards the 200 levels. But if you look at the long-term charts, when I'm talking about the long-term, I'm referring primarily to the monthly and the quarterly charts. They continue to display very strong bullish momentum. So that really tells that the bull camp is extremely strong in this counter. And what we saw was that was a healthy correction and profit booking which had happened, where the stock had corrected from almost 240 levels to 200 levels. And then the stock has reached that zone of resistance. So which 240 was a zone of resistance, that has been taken out. And if we go back in time, so somewhere in I would say December 2017, it had made a high of around 230 to 235. So 230, 240, which was acting as a very strong zone of resistance, that has been taken out. Also, what we are seeing is that the stock has been trading on very high volumes over the past many trading sessions. So that also reflects that this breakout is there to stay. And the stock is now trading towards its, I would say, uncharted territory. On the upside, the stock has a potential to rally towards the 285, 290 levels in the short term, because one of the technical indicators clearly points that the stock sustaining above the 240 levels has a potential to rally towards 285 to 90 levels.
All right, moving on then, Ankita, let's talk about Quest Corp, and why is this one in the spotlight today?
Well, Quest Corp is in spotlight today on the back of the fact that they have received from NCLT sanctioning the scheme of amalgamation of MFX Infotech Private Limited, Greenpeace Land India Private Limited and Connect Business Solutions Limited with Quest Corp Limited. And on the back of this news flow, we did see the stock open a percent up but has cooled off as of now, is trading below, around the day's lowest point, up 0.3% as of now.
Okay, that is Quest Corp in focus on the back of that, up 0.3% as of now. Let's move on and talk about CESC Limited on the charts then. And Aamar, when you look at it, last 1 month, the stock has managed to gain around 9%, last 6 months around a 40% return. What's the outlook now for CESC at 96 rupees per share as of now? Is it still a buy?
I would say that if you look at the charts clearly point towards that the uptrend remains intact. But if we go back slightly back in time, so what we saw in the last quarter of December 2021, the stock had made a high of 102.45. So that would act as a zone of resistance for the stock. So the stock is very close to that level. It's around 96.5, and the level which I'm talking about is 102, 103 zone. So that is a level to watch out for. So those who enter positions, they should look at that level, because if that level is breached, then we could see a significant upside rally in the stock. And most of the long-term technical indicators clearly point that there is very strong bullish momentum in this particular stock. And also what we are seeing today is that volumes have been exceptionally high today as compared to average of last, I would say, 30 days or maybe even 50 days. So that clearly tells me that the stock now needs to, first of all, sustain above the 94, 95 level. If it sustains above that level, then the next level to watch out for is 102, 103, which is going to act as a zone of resistance.
Okay, keep an eye out on those levels over there for CESC. But let's move on and talk about Tata Consultancy Services, TCS. That's in focus today after they have announced that the record date for the buyback of around 17,000 crores is going to be on 25th of November. This is the 5th share buyback of a Tata Group company in the last 6 years. The buyback price is 4,150 rupees per share, which was almost 20% higher than yesterday's closing price when you compare that. Now, obviously, when you look at it in terms of the buyback shares, that's around 4.1 crore buyback shares. The last day to buy, to be eligible for the buyback, will be 23rd of November. That's next Thursday. So, keeping an eye on that. What is it in for the retail shareholders now? Obviously, 15% is reserved for the retail shareholders. That's around 61.4 lakh shares. And the retail shareholders are those who own shares worth less than rupees 2 lakh. So, yes, TCS's buyback, 25th of November is the record date. Let's keep an eye out on that one. As of now, the stock is holding on to gains of almost 3.2%.
All right, moving on. Aamar, let's talk about Suzlon, and this one is only seeing one way up, given the fact that there are a lot of auto wins also supporting that move, and also you have had the stock being included in the MSCI rejig as well. Where do you see Suzlon headed from here on now?
I would say this is one stock which, honestly, if you ask, people would have been very skeptical given the fall which the stock had witnessed, and it was a penny stock. But then the stock has really taken off quite well. And if you look at the trend and momentum for the stock, that is there to stay, because most of the long-term technical indicators, they are not showing any signs of weakness. Yes, it is showing some signs of overheating in this particular counter. On the long-term charts, however, it has the potential to rally immediately towards the 4500 level, 45 level, which is to act as a zone of resistance for the stock. So that is a level where one needs to be slightly cautious, because if it sustains above the 45 level, then it could rally towards the 50-52 mark. However, I would say that on right now, one should look at on some decent correction, because 45 is very close to the current level, so the risk-reward ratio might not be very favorable. As far as the levels to watch out for on the downside support is concerned, so 35, 36 is a very crucial zone of support for this particular stock. And if you look at the stock has delivered phenomenal returns in the last month. It's up by almost 37%. So the stock continues to go one way, as you rightly said.
Okay, let's move on and then talk about Bajaj Finance because of the recovery that Bajaj Finance has seen. Ankita, what is the news flow around this? What are the brokerages also saying?
That's correct. Well, we do see a recovery coming in for Bajaj Finance. But first, the news. The news is that RBI has directed Bajaj Finance to immediately stop sanctioning and dispersal of loans under the e-com and the Insta EMI card products. Now, the decisions, resulted from the company's non-compliance with the digital lending guidelines, especially the omission of the key fact statements for borrowers and deficiencies in those issued for the other digital loans. Now, that was the news flow, but a couple of brokerage notes came out today that, see a very limited impact of this news on Bajaj Finance, and on the back of that we do see the recovery also coming in. Morgan Stanley says that the transactions done physically at the store on digitally acquired EMI cards should continue. The new digital card acquisition won't be affected as per the management, and they're expecting resolutions from the management by the end of Q3 of FY24. CLSA also came out with a note on Bajaj Finance saying that they view this as more of a temporary blip, and they feel that it's an optional operational breach rather than a major violation of RBI guidelines. They also think that some technical upgrades to generate and issue the KFS on the spot will be needed, but they believe for Bajaj it should be resolved in 1 or 2 quarters. They also have notes from InCred and IIFL who do not see a lot of impact on Bajaj Finance, a very limited impact coming in there, and we do see a recovery of in the stock, and it is up almost 1% in trade today.
Absolutely, that is Bajaj Finance. Brokerage is coming out and saying that the impact will be very limited for Bajaj Finance's financials, and that's one of the reasons why you've seen a spectacular recovery coming in from Bajaj Finance, almost 5% from the day's lowest point. But Amar, let's talk about spectacular returns. Then Radico Khaitan, we cannot leave that one out, isn't it? Because the rise that this particular stock has seen over a period of 1 or 2 years is spectacular, actually, to say the least. Where do you see Radico Khaitan headed from here on now?
Yeah, I would say that if you look at Radico Khaitan, the stock has delivered significantly even over the last few trading weeks. And currently, if we go back in time, so it has a top which was formed in August, first week of August, so 1478. That was the high which the stock had made, and from there it had corrected all the way towards the 1150 mark. Currently, it's around the 1450 levels. However, what we see is that over the last few trading sessions, so somewhere around 3rd of November, the stock witnessed significant volume. So that was more than average. Again, similar sort of volumes happened on 7th. So on the 3rd and 7th, we see very significant volumes happening, which is I would say at least 2x or 3x of the average volumes for the last 30 odd or 50 odd trading sessions. So that clearly tells me that there's a lot of money flow which has happened in the stock at the current levels, somewhere around 1300, 1350 levels. So now the stock needs to take out the 1475, 1480 zone. If you ask me, the long-term charts, on the quarterly charts, the stock continues to be very strong and firm. Or on the monthly charts, we are seeing some sort of consolidation. So till the time it doesn't take out the 1475, 1480 zone, the stock could consolidate. If it's able to take out that level and sustain above the 1500 mark, then the stock is definitely headed higher towards 1600.
Okay, that is the level that one should keep an eye out on for Radico Khaitan. Let's move on and talk about ESK Automotive. Lisa, what is keeping the stock abuzz today?
Yes, so ASK Automotive, which just got listed yesterday, it saw a positive debut. So today it's in focus because of a bulk deal, that too coming in from Goldman Sachs Fund. They bought 72 crore stake in the company, and that amount that comes to around 1.2% stake, and with 23 lakh shares that exchanged hands. So yes, talking about ASK Automotive, it got listed at a premium of around 8% to the IPO price of 282 per share, where it was a complete offer for sale of around 834 crore. So yes, that is why we can say ASK Automotive, it was up in early morning trade, but then it has cooled off its gains since then, but still trading with a positive bias.
All right, Aamar, let's talk about KPIT Tech, and how is this one looking on the charts to you? Do you think it is going to give a tough competition to large cap IT players?
Yeah, I would say this is one stock again which has defied all laws of gravity, and what we see is that the stock did consolidate for some time, but the stock continues to trade higher. Last 2 days, the stock was in for consolidation. Again, we are seeing a very good up move today. And also what we see is that towards the 30th of October and 31st of October, the stock witnessed significantly heavy volumes on those particular dates, which was around the 1250 mark. And since that, if we go back, so somewhere around the 17th of October and 12th of October, the stock was consolidating and was unable to breach the 1250 levels. So what we saw was that once that level was breached on heavy volumes, that is significantly heavy volumes, the stock is up from there by almost 200 points. So the stock is currently around 14, 30, 33 levels. If you ask, the trend for the stock continues to be extremely strong and firm. The stock is trading at record high. So on the upside, looking at the long-term charts, the momentum is there to stay. Even the intermediate term momentum has turned extremely bullish. So any pullback in the stock should be used as an opportunity. On the downside, the stock has now got very strong support coming around the 1350 levels or so. On the upside, the stock could rally towards the 1500, 1550 levels in the short term.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on those levels over there for KPIT Tech. But in their first face-to-face talks in a year, Joe Biden and Xi Jinping have agreed to open a presidential hotline and resume military communications. Xi Jinping has called for better relations, saying that they are ready to be a partner of the US, but added that the US should not bet against China for interfere in its internal affairs. All eyes will now shift to the dinner that Chinese counterpart will host tonight, and Ray Dalio, Tim Cook, Elon Musk are rumored to be a part of the dinner. Let's go across to Sumita, who's joining in with us with the latest.
China and United States are resuming high-level military communication after the much-awaited meeting of the presidents of both the countries. President Xi Jinping and President Biden happened last night in San Francisco. This was to reduce tensions after a rocky period of sanctions, military exercises and trade tariffs. The talks, in fact, lasted for more than 2 hours. In a press note by the White House, President Biden is reported to have said, and I quote, "The world expects the United States and China to manage competition responsibly to prevent it from veering into a conflict, confrontation or a new Cold War." So what was really discussed? Were there any concrete outcomes as part of that meeting? Well, let's take a look at these one by one. Number one, on the Israel-Hamas conflict, President Biden emphasized the importance of all countries using their influence to prevent the escalation of the conflict, and which is where China's influence with Iran helps. The United States, in fact, also said that the US and its allies will continue to support Ukraine's defense against the Russian aggression in relation to the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, the Biden and President Biden and Xi also agreed that China would stem the export of items related to the production of fentanyl, which is leading to drug overdoses in the United States. Also on the issue of AI, both the leaders agreed to get experts together to discuss the risks associated with the new technology. In fact, President Biden also underscored the United States' support for a free and open Indo-Pacific. There were also talks around climate change, and trade issues were also brought to the fore as well, with President Biden actually raising concerns about unfair trade practices, about non-market economic practices and punitive actions against US firms. Now let's come to the most important issue, perhaps one of the most important issues between the US-China relationship, the Taiwan issue. Well, President Xi urged President Biden to stop sending weapons to Taiwan and support China's peaceful reunification. Meanwhile, President Biden stressed on the need for more peace and stability in the region and did raise the issue of a massive buildup around the island. So this is one of the very, very critical issues as far as a relationship between these two countries is concerned. Now, this meeting, as it is coming in amidst economic weaknesses that is being seen globally, but more so in case of China post-stringent COVID measures. Now, experts were playing down the chances of any major breakthroughs to come via this meeting, via this, over 2-hour-long meeting, although there seems to have been some breakthroughs that have been made. At least the re-establishment of a hotline is a positive signal in this direction.
All right, thank you so much for that, Sumita, for getting us that crucial update between the world's biggest leaders actually meeting in the United States. But on that note, we are totally out of time on this edition of Market Fatafat. It's a goodbye from Winnie, myself, and the team that put the show together. Also, thank you, Lisa, Aamar, Kunal, as well as Ankita for joining us on the show and taking our viewers through all the stocks that are passing. But viewers, it's time out on Market Fatafat. Stay tuned. Closing trades coming up next.